Witherhoard is a very unique exotic grenade launcher, obtainable from the Season of Arrivals Season Pass, at rank 1 for the paid pass, and at rank 35 for the free pass. It allows you to hurl blight at your enemies, finally allowing you to fulfill your dreams of being a Taken. This grenade launcher literally just allows you to shoot blights at enemies. Upon hitting an enemy, the blight will deal significant damage to the enemy over the course of about 10 seconds, dealing about 16 hits of damage. Upon defeating this target, the blight will also fall to the ground, causing an area of effect. Over the course of 8 seconds, will deal about 23 hits of damage. You can also just shoot the ground and it will also create this area of effect. This is thanks to the Primeval's Torment intrinsic trait and the Break the Bank secondary trait. After some testing in the Tribute Hall, I can confirm that against the Fallen Captain in the Tribute Hall, it will deal 51,488 damage, directly blighting the Captain, of course dealing 16 hits over the course of 10 seconds. Blighting the area around the Captain will deal 37,007 damage, of course 23 hits over the course of 8 seconds, which is much more rapid, however it is much less damage per hit. Witherhoard also reloads in approximately 2.5 to 3 seconds and can fire at around 90 rounds per minute according to its in-game stats, and it can also hold 20 rounds in reserve and 1 round in the mag. Witherhoard's Catalyst is obtainable from the Bank Job quest, which is obtainable during Season of Arrivals. It involves some pretty grindy objectives, however the Catalyst will award you with increased handling and also applying auto-loading holster to Witherhoard, which is a nice addition, however I'm not sure it's worth grinding the entire quest for. However, you can probably do it pretty ambiently in the background. Witherhoard itself seems to be inspired by the darkness/Taken designs of enemies and structures. It has an all-black appearance, with the section behind the blight appearing to be copper or a dark gold colour. The ornament itself, called White Colour Crime, reminds me strongly of the Calus' Selected Cheater. However, instead of the typical white and gold design, the white areas are actually marble, and the gold areas appear pretty much identical to the Calus' Selected Cheater. However, it looks more actually like gold and it has some detail to it as opposed to as a matte sort of blanket gold colour. It also has a gold Gambit insignia on the grip, which is a nice wee callback to the fact that it is apparently Drifter's weapon that he's given to you for some reason. As for the lore for the weapon, it seems to be pretty recent, having taken place since the Pyramid has arrived on Io. It appears to be a guardian warning the Drifter of using darkness moots whenever there's a Pyramid which has appeared and people are going to attack Drifter and, call him out in some things. I don't know what implications this has lore-wise, however I think it's just a nice wee lore tab to have in the weapon. I have used Witherhoard extensively in PvE activities, such as story missions, patrols, public events, strikes, that sort of thing, and I can pretty much confirm that, as you would expect, it's a pretty fun exotic, and surprisingly it also is pretty viable for his dealing damage. It works very well for ad clearing, as you can plop down a couple blights on the ground and have Thrall or any sort of red bar enemies run into them because they have no concept of the fact that they're going to die if they run into this area, so you can easily clear waves of enemies by shooting it at the ground. And blighting orange bar and yellow bar enemies directly also deals a significant amount of damage as well. And if it does kill the enemy, it also causes a blight on the ground, which can also deal with ad clearing and damaging enemies around that area as well. Overall, I would say this is a very fun exotic to use in general PvE activities such as strikes or public events. I used it a lot in the Point of Contact public event on Io, and it worked very well against the waves of enemies that spawn in that mode, and also seemed to do quite a bit of damage against the bosses that appear as well. Overall, it's a pretty fun weapon, and I can't really fault it in that regard. Oh, and fun fact, you can't blight a blight, just that's a thing apparently. In Gambit it also, as you would imagine, performed pretty similarly to PvE. It works great in Gambit because enemies appear in very concentrated areas. Obviously there's 3 sections of each Gambit map, and enemies will only spawn in one section at a time typically. Therefore you can shoot it in one area of that zone and you'll probably get a few kills. If you blight orange bar, yellow bar enemies, blockers for example, directly, it will also deal significant amounts of damage, and your only concern here is getting enough special ammo to actually use the weapon. However, with the use of mods and that sort of thing, that shouldn't be an issue. Unfortunately, I couldn't get any kills against invaders or other guardians. However, I would say it probably isn't too difficult to get kills against guardians with this. From my experience in Crucible, it's definitely possible, and I would say that it would probably be pretty good in Gambit if you can reliably hit people with it. However, that might be a bit difficult because it is a grenade launcher, of course. Overall, I would say it's not a meta changer in Gambit, however, it is definitely very viable, and I would definitely recommend using it if you want to kind of switch up your loadout or just have some fun. It's definitely a very good weapon and it's pretty viable. From my brief time in Crucible, which you may know I don't enjoy my time in Crucible, I'm not very good at it either, I seem to actually do pretty well with Wither Horde, for me at least. I was able to not only just directly hit enemies and get kills that way, which by the way, if you hit an enemy once with a Blight, it will finish them off completely, so you don't even need to shoot them after you've hit them once. It will finish them off, which also means if you get hit by Wither Horde, you have no hope, so good luck. And it also worked pretty well as an area of denial weapon, which I guess you would expect because you can shoot a Blight onto the ground. However, it worked pretty well just blocking off corridors and certain areas, and it just worked pretty well. I also was playing Control with Wither Horde, and as you would imagine, people were shooting them onto flags, which caused all sorts of problems. However, I would say the fact that other people were using Wither Horde as well as just me would confirm my belief that it is pretty good in Crucible. However, I imagine it may see a bit of a tweak in the future, as with all standout weapons in Crucible. Overall, I had a pretty enjoyable experience with Wither Horde. I believe it is a very good PvE exotic. It works very well for ad clearing and does significant damage to bosses. It's always nice to have a fun exotic, which also is pretty viable. So I'm very happy about that. It's very unique in that it creates blights, and I think it's a very unique concept for an exotic weapon. For me, it ticks all the boxes an exotic weapon should, which is uniqueness and also just being good. So I think it definitely deserves its title of being an exotic weapon. It also seems very viable in Crucible, and I would even go as far to say that it is pretty good in Crucible. I have seen multiple people using it, as I've said, and I would say that backs up my belief that it is actually a pretty good exotic for PvP use. As for its use in Trials, no idea. I don't play Trials, so venture at your own risk. However, in terms of my use, it's a very good exotic. I very much enjoyed using it, and I may try to get the Catalyst, but we'll see. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please consider leaving a like, maybe even subscribing. This is a bit of a different format for an exotic review than I normally do. I normally write down points on a A4 page and then just kind of rant, whereas today I wrote a bit more set in stone script, so hopefully you enjoyed it. If you think it was better than my normal ones, please let me know, and yeah, see you in the next one.